Welcome back, all my fight fans. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 fights of 2025. These, for me, were the most electrifying, the most entertaining, and the most spectacular fights that I saw all of last year, at least in the UFC. And if you guys disagree with this list, if you think that there are some fights that should have been on the list that I missed on, or if you disagree with the ordering of my rankings, definitely let me know down below in the comments. What were your top 5, top 10, top 15, whatever you want to leave? What were your top fights of 2025? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. And with that all out of the way, let's get into the list. Kicking us off at number 10, we have a suffocating fight between Ian Machado Gary and Carlos Prates. This fight happened earlier in the year last year, and when these two got booked to face each other, I thought, UFC, what are you doing, man? This should be like a title fight or something like that. Save these guys. These are both electrifying prospects. Why are you guys making them fight each other now? But I'm glad it happened when it did, because this could go on to be a trilogy one day, I think. This fight was so evenly matched. It was so back and forth. I do think the judges got it right in giving this to Gary. I do think he controlled the fight the majority of the fight. But man, right at the end of it, Carlos Prates came back. He had the most dominant round in round 5. It looked like he was about to knock Gary out at a lot of moments towards the end of that fight, and it was just electrifying from start to finish. You got to see two striking masters put their skills on display against each other. Machado Gary was just a little bit more well-rounded. He's got a little bit more ground game, a little bit more things that he can do in the clinch and stuff like that. So he's a little bit more of a well-rounded fighter. Thus, he got the victory in this one, and I think he's going to go on to do big things in this division. Same with Prates. Maybe he can work a little bit on his ground game, a little bit on his takedown defense, especially if he's going to have to face guys like Islam Makhachev in the next coming years. But I thought it was a fantastic performance by Prates, even on the losing side of it. So that was my 10th best fight of 2025. At number 9, at UFC 314, we had the unbreakable Alexander Volkanovski taking on the chaotic Diego Lopez. This guy is so much fun to watch fight. Diego Lopez, every single time he's booked, you circle that fight and you go, well, that's probably going to be one of the fight of the nights. He brought it in this one too. He gave Volkanovski one of his toughest fights of his entire career. But Volkanovski is so damn war-tested. This guy is a veteran. He's so damn tough. He's got so much experience when he steps in there. And he's still game. His body's still working good for him. He's not slowing down at all. He's still, I think, 36, 37, but he's getting towards those twilight years of his career. But he's still an absolute tank, and I can't wait to see this fight ran back again in 2026. It should be coming up here in a couple of weeks. You guys will see my prediction video for it, I'm sure. But yeah, the first fight was absolutely spectacular. Back and forth the entire fight, just both guys, so much grit and guts put on display. Both men putting their chins on the line to make it a fantastic and fun fight. And I'm so happy for this one. This was one of my favorite fights of the entire year. I'm glad Volkanovski pulled it out. It's cool to see the old veteran come back and win his belt back. I always love seeing that. So shout out to Volk. Hopefully he can do it again here in a couple weeks. And that was my 9th best fight of 2025. Next up at number 8, I have a fight from UFC 311. This fight was between Jiri Prochazka and Jamal Hill, and this was an absolute dogfight. For 3 rounds, this fight was back and forth. Jamal Hill made it entertaining at points. He does have great boxing, especially at that weight class. He moves pretty well. But going up against a guy who's as chaotic as Jiri Prochazka, you got to be very careful. And I feel like Jamal Hill put himself in some dangerous spots throughout that fight, and he got hit with some big shots from Jiri. And he got hit by the biggest ones at the end of round 3. And Jiri stopped this fight with a spectacular knockout at the end of the fight, which was just a great way to put a staple on it. And for me, this was one of the greatest fights of the entire year. There was a lot going into this. There's a little bit of trash talk back and forth between both guys. Jamal Hill's always trash talking, trying to prove himself. Doesn't really handle losses the best, and I feel like he's still trying to handle that Pereira loss in his head. And Jiri Prochazka is just always entertaining on the mic, always fun. Goes in there, makes it a very chaotic fight, and gets the knockout late. So this was just an incredible fight. I really enjoyed it. I have that at number 8. Next up at number 7, we have the headliner of a fight night, which was between Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodriguez. And this was a gutsy fight, man. You had the iron-willed Jared Cannonier getting knocked down, I believe, twice in the first round. And he took some brutal punishment at the start of the fight. And then slowly worked himself back, round after round. just coming out of his corner, just the tough SOB that he is, always putting the pressure on Gregory Rodriguez and slowly wilting him down. And then in the fourth round, he gets that knockout. And it's one of the greatest comebacks, not just of last year, but of all time, I think. To take that kind of beating in the first round and then to come back and get your own knockout in the fight, in a grueling fight against a guy that's that big with so much power. I mean, Gregory Rodriguez, like, he's not the greatest fighter on the planet. I don't think this guy's going to win a belt anytime soon, if I'm being honest. But he is one of the scariest fighters in that division. He's a guy you do not want to face. He hits too damn hard. He's too tough. And he does not play it safe. Gregory Rodriguez is always going forward himself. So Cannonier, man, is just made of iron. That guy is built different for sure. And what an impressive performance by him. At number 6, we have the headliner from UFC 318, which was between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. This was a trilogy fight. This was the third time they have fought now. The first fight, they were both very, very young. Early 20s, barely in the UFC, didn't have a lot of experience, and Dustin Poirier kind of manhandled Max Holloway a little bit. He was a lot bigger than him at that time, had a lot more muscle on his bones. And the second fight was one of the greatest fights of all time. It happened a few years ago now, I think 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. And I remember that being my fight of the year. It was up there with that. I think it was on the same card, actually, as the Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum fight. For me, those were the two best fights of the entire year. I really loved that first fight. It was just back and forth. You never knew who was winning in that fight, but it seemed like Poirier was just slightly getting the better of the exchanges. And it was kind of the same story here in the third. The third was not as great of a fight as the second, I think. I think there was a little bit more volume in that second fight. The guys were a little bit more in their prime at that time. But in this fight, we still got a lot of action. It was very back and forth, a little bit more dominant for Holloway in this one. I would say that he probably won 4 rounds in this fight. Maybe you can even argue all 5, but it was a little bit more leaning towards Holloway in this one. He's more in his prime. He's a little bit younger than Poirier. And Poirier, you can just see the age and the experience. It was there, it was keeping him in that fight, but it was starting to wear on him. You could see that he's at the end of his career. He's in those twilight years, and we were seeing a fighter age. We were seeing a fighter kind of at the very end, and to have him go out on top like this against a guy like Max Holloway, who's so damn tough, fighting for the BMF belt, almost winning it. It was just a spectacular performance, and that's all I wanted for Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, is a fight like that. It would have been awesome if he won, but he still won the trilogy. He still won 2 out of 3 fights, so I guess he can rest his hat on that and rest his hat on a fantastic career. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. He always brought it. He always came in there looking to fight, not to win a fight, but to actually fight, to get into a little bit of a brawl. And he's always been an entertaining fighter, whether it's his slick submissions, always jumping for that guillotine. I don't know if he ever really got it, but always jumping for that guillotine. His elite boxing, he kind of brought in that new reverse guard that some fighters use now, that Dustin Poirier reverse guard. He's just an innovator, a pioneer. So many things you can attach to Dustin Poirier, but a great man is one of them too. The Good Fight Foundation, the way he treats his wife and children. He's somebody who you can look up to. He's a great role model. It's sad to see him go. It's sad to see him retire, but he'll always be in my heart and my memory, and I'll always go back and watch Dustin Poirier fights, and especially this one. This is one of my favorites for sure. So that was my 6th favorite fight of 2025. And at number 5, we have a fight that highlighted a fight night. It was, of course, between Diego Lopez and Jean Silva. And this was such a fun fight. Going into it, you got these 2 Brazilians who are just so chaotic in the way they fight. Diego Lopez wants to brawl. He wants it to be a bar fight. He wants to put his chin on the line, and he wants to feel you hit him, and he's going to hit you back even harder. I love the way Diego Lopez fights. It's so entertaining. And Jean Silva, on the other hand, one of the most entertaining fighting nerds fighters, always out there looking for a knockout, looking for some sort of flashy finish. He's looking out there to devastate people, to knock their heads off their shoulders. And I love the way that he fights too. He's an absolute dog, quite literally. He goes in there and hangs on the cage and barks at his opponents. So much fun to watch this guy fight as well. And this is just a tremendous matchup. I could watch this fight ran back 5 times, and I wouldn't care which way it goes. It would be fun every single time. What really stood out to me in this fight was Jean Silva was looking for that spinning back elbow the entire fight, and he got so close to landing it. He even stunned Lopez with it at one point in the fight. And then Lopez hits the guy with the same technique he was looking to hit him with the entire fight, which is fantastic. I love seeing that in a fight. It's like a martial arts movie or something like that. It's like you're playing a video game and you're like, oh, you're looking for the head kick? Well, boom, let me hit you with the head kick. Like, that was so cool to see. Diego Lopez to pull that out, hit that spinning back elbow, and then finish it with some ground and pound. My God, what a beautiful performance. What a spectacular fight for as long as it lasted. I think it's the shortest fight on my list today. Only lasted 2 rounds, not even. And yeah, what a performance by Lopez. Next up at number 4 from the UFC 317 fight card, that was Topuria versus Oliveira. We had a fantastic fight between Van and Royval, and this is one of my favorite flyweight fights of all time. Boy, did these guys bring it. They just slung it out, man. And when you're a flyweight, you don't have to worry about getting knocked out as much as a heavyweight does, right? You're not like, is that one shot going to knock me out? As a flyweight, you can be like, there's not going to be one shot that knocks me out in this fight. Hit me and let me see if I can hit you more often. And that's exactly what this fight was. It was who could hit the other guy more often. And you saw Joshua Van go out there and show why he has the highest significant strike per minute average in the entire sport, I believe. He lands 8 significant strikes per minute, which is just mind-blowing. And he showed it in this fight. He was so relentless, hitting combinations the entire fight. It felt like almost like the start of the fight and the end of the fight was just one combination for Joshua Van, because his hands never stopped going. He was like one of those rock'em sock'em robots. His hands were just firing away, and it was so fun to watch. Back and forth. Really, you could have called it either way, but I think the judges did get it right in calling it for Van. I think he got more damage done. I believe he got a knockdown at some point in that fight, so impressive performance by him. He went on to win the title later that year in kind of a fluky fashion with Pantoja getting injured. But shout out to Joshua Van, man. Second youngest UFC champion of all time. Incredibly entertaining. He's at flyweight. Maybe this guy could go on a run if he doesn't lose a fight for the next 10 years. He could become the GOAT. He could beat Demetrius Johnson and John Jones's records. He's that young. He's that active. He's that entertaining. He has that much skill. Is he going to beat Pantoja in the rematch? I don't know. Is he going to beat guys like Tetsuro Taira? I don't know. We'll see in 2026. But man, am I excited for this kid. And that was an impressive fight. So getting into our top 3, at number 3, I have a fight from UFC 311, which happened last January, almost a year ago to the day. We had Merab Dvalishvili take on Umar Nurmagomedov. And this was such a fun fight. It was a fight that I was looking forward to for years. Not even months, but years. You know, everybody's going, Merab's this crazy wrestler. Did you see what he did against Petr Yan, man? Like, this might be the best wrestler in UFC history. Who can stop him? He's an absolute machine. And then I was always saying, wait for Umar. Wait for him. Because when this guy comes at bantamweight, he's unlike Islam Makhachev or Khabib. He's got striking that's far more developed, far more elite than both of them. He's very flashy with his kicks. He's got great punches, fantastic combinations. And when it comes to the ground game, sure, he might not be as smothering as Khabib. He might not be as dominant as Islam Makhachev, but he is an elite wrestler and one of the best in the entire sport. So going into this fight, I thought these fighters were completely evenly matched. And that's how the fight played out too. The fight looked like 2 completely evenly matched guys who just could not find a way to beat the other guy. I know Merab won this fight, and I do think it was the right decision to give it to Merab. I had it 3-2 for Merab. But when you take into consideration that Umar Nurmagomedov broke his hand in the first round, it just adds a whole nother level to this fight. Was if he didn't have a broken hand, maybe he would have won the fight. You know, that's a huge thing to break your hand in a fight. It's not like, fracturing something in your leg. Your hand's pretty damn important. You're throwing that every 2 seconds. So I don't know. I want to see this one get ran back. I feel like it's going to be a close fight in the second one. I want to see Umar take on Petr Yan now. I just want to see those 3 guys fight each other for the rest of time. Until they retire, I want to see Merab, Petr Yan, and Umar just fight each other. Because to me, those are the 3 best flyweights I've ever seen fight. I think Merab's now the greatest of all time. I think we can put him above Dominic Cruz. I think that's fair enough. But I think these are the 3 best fighters that I've ever seen at 135 inside the cage. And this was a spectacular fight. There's only one other Merab fight I have above it, which I'll talk about in a second here. But first, we got to move on to my number 2 pick. And at number 2, coming off of UFC 320, we have the fantastic fight between Jiri Prochazka and Khalil Rountree. One of the other fighters that's on my list twice today is Jiri, and it's because he had one of the most impressive comebacks of the entire year. He was losing this fight. He was losing it badly, too. I think Khalil Rountree was beating him up for the first 2 rounds. And then as the fight progresses, you see Jiri kind of remember who he was, who he is. He's the chaos man. He's the man who makes things super chaotic, who throws weird techniques at you, and you don't know what's coming, and then finally something hits your chin and you're out. And that's exactly what happened in this fight. We saw Jiri come back, remember himself, make things super chaotic in the third round, land a beautiful left hook, and then follow it up with some ground and pound to finish off Khalil Rountree in a fight that was so back and forth, so much emotion in it. You know, you had Khalil Rountree kind of overcoming the bigger guy. It looked like, oh my God, Khalil Rountree might actually be able to beat Jiri. He might actually get that rematch against Pereira. Another fight that he had that was actually kind of close during the beginning. And then, you know, Jiri just flips that switch and he becomes the old vintage Jiri and makes things chaotic. And whenever things are chaotic in there, that's where Jiri thrives. That's where he's his best. And it was an impressive comeback. He got that left hook. I believe it was in the third round. And what a performance by Jiri. What a fantastic fight. I love when there's a big comeback in a fight like that. It just adds so much more emotional weight to it. And this is one of my favorites for sure. But there's one fight that I enjoyed more in 2025, and that's my number one pick. And at number one, from the last fight card on the year, UFC 223, we have, for me, one of, if not the most impressive performances in UFC history. And I mean that. That's a big, weighty thing to say about a fight. But I mean that about this fight. I mean that about this performance. When Petr Yan avenged himself, came back in the second fight against Merab Dvalishvili at the end of last year and beat him the way he did, that was so freaking impressive to me. Not only did he come back and beat a guy who dominated him in the first fight, who set the record for attempted takedowns against him in the first fight. That first fight was so one-sided, it almost broke my heart because I was a huge fan of Petr Yan going into that. I thought, here we go, this is going to be a nice close fight with this Merab guy who's super tough. I also kind of like him, but I'm siding with Petr, and this is going to be a nice close fight. And it wasn't close at all. Merab just ragdolled him. He beat him up on the feet. He beat him up in the boxing. He took him down at will. It was just embarrassing to watch that fight. And there's a picture in that fight I'll throw up on screen right now where you see, you know, Petr Yan trying to get up after a takedown. And you just see that 1,000-yard stare, right? He's just exhausted. The soul has been sucked out of him. And seeing that fight and looking at that photo, I never thought he would come back. I honestly never thought he'd be able to come back and climb this mountain and overcome it. I thought this is his kryptonite. This is the guy that he can't beat. I love Petr Yan. I think he's one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. I feel like a big portion of his career got stolen from him with the stupid Aljo knee and Aljo acting, and you guys know how I feel about that. And then the two fights after that, the rematch with Aljo and the O'Malley fight, I thought he got robbed in. So I feel like this guy should have multiple title defenses by now. And he comes back against Merab in a fight that he worked so hard to get. He had 3 very impressive victories in a row, beating guys like Figueiredo and guys like that. Gets this fight again and puts on a masterclass performance against Merab at his peak. This isn't like an injured Merab. It was maybe a little weathered Merab. This was his 4th title fight of the year. Maybe he's a little bit exhausted at this point, but this was a legitimate Merab. Merab looked good in that fight. He looked prepared. He looked like the prime Merab that we've known him as for the last 2 years, the unstoppable force who's possibly the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet. And Petr Yan went in there and he dealt with that. He dealt with that by putting a jab in his face that broke his nose, that bloodied him up super badly. He beat him up with body kicks that were so well placed and so well timed, and he didn't need many of them. A lot of guys, they need to rip the body like 50 times in a fight to really hurt a guy. And especially a guy like Merab, a guy who's so damn tough and built like that. Petr Yan didn't need that. He didn't need 50 kicks. He only needed 5 of them. He only needed 5 perfectly placed body kicks, and he screwed up Merab's body bad. He had him hurting. He had him backing up. He had him grimacing in ways that I have never seen Merab grimace before. And it was such... I don't know how else to... I keep saying impressive. I don't know what other word to put on it, but it was the most impressive performance I've ever seen. Like, to overcome that big of a mountain, that big of a challenge, a guy who completely sucked your soul and will away in the first fight, and to come back with a game plan that was absolutely perfect, keeping that hand glued to his face so his eye wouldn't, close up again like it did in the first fight. His hand was glued to his face. It was the best guard discipline I've seen in my entire time watching the UFC. I can say that for certain. I have never seen a fighter in the history of the UFC have guard discipline like Jan did in that fight, and he needed it. He also needed to be elite on takedowns. And he stopped them. He stopped pretty much all of Merab's takedowns. Merab got a couple, but at the end of the fight, it was Petr Yan who had more takedowns, which is so damn impressive. You don't out-wrestle a guy like Merab, especially in a UFC fight. You don't out-wrestle a guy like Merab in a wrestling match, let alone while he's also throwing punches at you with the crazy cardio that he has. It's just, man, I could go on and on all day long gushing about this fight and how impressive the performance was, but to overcome a mountain like that, to have the fight be so damn close too, and just to win your belt back, to do it in front of your son, it was a magical moment. And I'm a huge fan of Petr Yan. He will always be one of my favorite fighters of all time. So maybe I'm a little bit biased in putting this fight this high, but for me, that was for sure the best fight of 2025. But if you guys disagree, if you guys think my ordering here is all janky and messed up, and you guys think you guys can leave a better list down below in the comments, definitely do. I love hearing from you guys. Tell me what your guys' top fights of 2025 were. Maybe give me a couple of reasons why you loved those fights. Maybe they had a personal impact on you or something like that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the absolute world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.